All right, we're live. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to the September 17th, 2025 Litchfield School Board meeting. It is now 5:30, and we'll call the meeting to order and begin with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We are down a board member tonight. Mr. Shoemaker is traveling, so there will be four of us this evening. Moving into our agenda tonight, there's review and revision of agenda items. Any changes to the agenda this evening? Moving into consent. Any items off consent the board would like to talk about tonight? Yep. Okay. Summary of non-public actions from September 3rd, 2025. Mr. Shoemaker motioned to approve the August 20th, 2025 non-public minutes. Mr. DeWitt seconded that motion. That passed 5-0. Mr. Shoemaker motioned to nominate Brendan Collins, as the Director of Technology. Ms. Ames seconded that motion, and that motion passed 5-0. Mr. Shoemaker motioned to adjourn the non-public session at 7:03 p.m. The same seconded that motion, and that motion passed 5-0. And we're going to move right into presentations this evening and turn it over to Dr. Taylor for our data report, which is near and dear to Mr. Shoemaker, and he's not here this evening. So here we go.
All right, here we go. All right, you putting it up?
Yep.
Okay.
You're good.
All right, so just like last year, I wanted to make sure to point out kind of the purpose of assessments. So they're really to provide insights into student progression, curriculum effectiveness, and the strengths and the needs for kind of interventions and what kind of other targeted supports we need. So there's a lot that's wrapped into the data that we look at and how we look at it and interpret it. You guys want to ask questions as we go?
I want to understand the data before I ask questions.
Okay. So we'll go, do you want me to go through each data slide and then ask questions at the end?
Yeah,
Okay.
or, even the summary slide to start would be great.
Perfect. All right. That was all I was going to say about the summaries.
Oh, okay, all right.
Because I'm not going to read the slides.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nope, that's good.
Okay. Well, really, this one, these slides now are like just getting right into the data. So this is the New Hampshire SAS Spring 2021 through 2025 district math data. So this is how students performed in mathematics from all the way from 21-21 to 2025. We looked at this last year through 2024, so I just added 2025 to the list. So really, when you're looking at the vertical columns, that's how we look at like curriculum, right? Like how is that particular grade level, like how is the curriculum effectiveness in that? And then the diagonal is looking at kind of that cohort tracking. Does that make sense to everyone? So when you look at the data overall, you can see it. I'm going to look behind me because it's bigger on your screen than mine. We do have like district overall vertical. We have some growth from 21 to 25. And then in grade 3 and 4, and then we have some areas where we're still growing, and then some areas where we're like, okay, we need to concentrate and look at the curriculum and where things are being implemented. And when you look at the diagonal and you track the cohorts, this is where, when I say like my one of our real focus areas, and we've really been honing in on that vertical alignment, this is where you can see where that is super important so that we can continue to, so we build those foundational skills, and then we need to continue to hone those skills and strengthen them and build them in complexity as students go up in grade levels. So that really shows us like that that vertical alignment is super important, and we've made a lot of traction, and I'm really excited to continue to get started this year with it.
So can I just ask a couple of quick clarifying questions? When
Sure.
you say on the 2021 grade 3, it says 51%, that's 51% of what?
That's 51% of students that are scoring proficient or above on the SAS for math.
So that's what I thought. And that's sort of our internal cohort. It's not the cohort that we talk about comparing with other districts.
Correct, and that'll be
That's
the
in the
next
next
slide.
slide. Yeah.
So what happened, what happened between grade 4 and grade 5?
So again, we're talking about that, we talked about it last year, we're talking about transition year, right? Like, we really need to look at how students are transitioning to LMS, because it's a big jump from going to, you're in one homegrown classroom, right, with one teacher, to many teachers with different expectations, different teaching styles, different everything. And you have to kind of traverse that and get used to that, while also picking up new learning. And the curriculum really builds in complexity. It takes a jump. So as a team, as a math team, and as a district, like one of our district goals, the school board goal is looking at those transitions and how we can help support students and help them be able to traverse that in a more effective way and continue to learn and grow as they're transitioning.
As a glass half full observation, it does look like this grade 5 had the highest SAS score that the district had had in the last 4 years. So of the 5 years of data that we have, while it's still a low number, the difference from 4th grade at being 50% efficient to 5th grade being 50% of, proficient, that is the smaller gap than from 57 to 23 the year before. Not that, again, it's still an area to work on and there's still opportunities there, but,
I think this is one of the, why the vertical alignment is so important.
Correct.
So when they were doing that work last year, math is my background, so I remember going in and looking at their vertical alignment, and you could see that we needed to smoothen out that kind of curricular bump from 4th to 5th, right? Make sure it's consistent, make sure it's linear in its growth, that we're not reduplicating skills, but at the same time moving them forward and making sure we're hitting the markers that are going to be on the SAS assessment. You don't ever want to teach the SAT test, but at the same time, you should make sure you're teaching what is on the test,
Right.
So we can be ready to be successful in that type of assessment. So you could see from that work they were doing last year, it was obvious to someone who has a math background that was an area where we need to make that curricular smoothness, I guess for lack of a better term, a little bit stronger, to make sure that what's being done is 4th, we're building on that in 5th and then 6th, so on and so forth through the middle school there. I mean, transitions is tough. You'll see, we do 4 to 5 as the building change in this districts, and other districts that have maybe the switches at, 5 to 6, they'll see a little drop because of the transition there. This is a pretty significant drop. I don't want to minimize that, but that is kind of a trend for whatever school you see in that kind of when they leave the elementary realm to more of that middle, junior high realm. But we should be scoring higher. There's just no other way to put it.
Right.
Positive step last year, we went up from a low at 16 3 years ago, 18, sorry, I can't even read, 16. 3 years ago to, it's not where you want to be at 29, but it's almost doubling that proficiency score. So, you want to continue that growth in the kind of future years. Yeah.
Yep. And we've really started to dig in to the standards and to looking at where are we teaching what and how, right? So we're really starting to address a lot of these things
Yeah.
already, which is
Sequencing, I think one of the very specific things there is we changed some of the grade 5 sequencing of the curriculum last year
Yep.
to ensure certain things were taught before the assessment in the spring, I think some of this improvement in that score specifically for that, right? Like it was.
Yep, they
make sure
had
we
more
got everything
exposure,
in.
more time with it.
If
so.
I look at the 23 to 24, the drop was less than 24 to 25,
Which one?
right? Same thing, grade 4 to grade 5. In 2023 was 42 down to 23, so minus 20, call it.
Yeah.
And this is a little bit more than that, right? It's
Yeah, I would have hoped that cohort, though, in that 23 in grade 4 could have scored better. 42 is kind of an anomaly with that. Well, not, anomaly is not the right term. But that 24 grade 4 group, which was at 57 proficiency rate just to start at that higher mark. So I'm not surprised it's a larger drop to that grade 5 there. That makes sense.
I would have hoped it would be less than the prior year, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Because they were already starting at a higher level.
Yeah.
I would have thought that they would have been much higher than 29%.
Yeah.
What that would be, I don't know.
yeah. From a
Yeah.
percent, yeah. I think bottom line, we don't want that drop.
Yeah.
right, absolutely.
Right.
And
we
there
don't.
were other
And this is
other issues
where-
at play with the grade.
And this is where we use this data to say, okay, like, what's happening here and how can we mitigate those drops? Like, what are we doing curricularly? What's happening in, like Brian was saying, like, what was happening in 4th grade? And then 5th grade, looking at what are we teaching on? Where are those gaps happening? Like, how can we fill those more and strengthen them? So, a lot of those conversations have already started to take place.
Yeah, and you can see it more clearly too in the next slide
Yeah.
when you're comparing to the state as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there is a slight drop there, state, from 4th grade to 5th grade for the state numbers too, but
Looking at
it's,
state now?
yeah, but it's not as significant as our drop off.
Yeah.
Correct. So when you're looking at the state data, this is where you are comparing the whole state again. So all the 3rd grade in the state is in the state data, 4th grade, et cetera. The 2025 data is not out yet. It doesn't come out until later in the
State.
fall.
Right. For the state.
For the state, yes. So, and it's unfortunate, I was hoping that they were gonna have it ready earlier this year because they had us verify our embargo data in July this year. So I was hopeful that they would have the state data aggregated and ready to go by end of August, but it's not ready yet. So once the state 25 data comes out, I'll let you guys know. But so we're looking at data so when you see this district and state 2024, that's the 2023-2024 school year. Does that make sense? So it's not this last April, May that they took the assessment, is the previous. So looking at it, you can see that in several grade levels, we actually outperform the state, which is really awesome to see. And something to point out for 8th grade, 2023-2024 was the first year that they did not outperform the state, but their teacher went out on maternity leave, like before that test. So there's not saying that that's the only factor, but it does play a large part because she went out well before the assessment, so they didn't get that final like content push, if that makes sense. But otherwise, there are several grade levels that we are outperforming the state, and then there are a couple that we're not, where again that vertical alignment work is really going to start to bring those things up.
I think our goal should be, we should always be above the state.
Yes.
In our district. Like a district of our size, of our resources, I think it's a fair goal to be above the state average when it comes to proficiency rate in our schools, both reading and ELA. So that's our goal.
I think that if we're measuring against the state that's 50%, that's 50% is not good. I mean, we're measuring against,
Benchmark is low to begin with.
you know, it's,
Yeah.
the top number is bad.
Yeah, but that's why, I mean, we should always be above, right? Like,
Yeah.
I would hope
And-
significantly above.
yeah, I think the test is a test, again, put my math teacher hat on. You take a computerized test to do math, you never do it computerized at any other point during the year, or at least I never taught it that way, so it's always a point of frustration for me as a math teacher. But that being said, yes, I would like our proficiency rate to be above the state kind of moving.
Do we ever do these comparisons against our cohort, our own school cohort, or against the best schools in the state? Or the perceived best schools in the state?
We do eventually have access to other school districts, so we
Yeah.
could do that. We're not like producing that on a regular basis because it's all internal work. If we were to do that, we can pull the state data here and do that. But it's certainly stuff that I've been in districts where you do have your cohort of schools that you're looking at and then making a comparison of how you're doing on it.
I would be interested to see how we do against school X, both public and private, you know.
Yeah.
Who's the best? We should measure ourselves against the best.
Yeah, I
Private
mean, you have to
schools
be.
don't have to take this assessment.
Pardon?
Private schools don't have to take this assessment.
Do they though? I mean, do they do it anyway?
They're not, their data's not on the I Achieve website. So I don't know, but I can find that out. And I can certainly do a cohort comparison. That's easy enough.
This is complete speculation, but my guess is it would fall in line probably with some of the US News reports or the niche or the school rankings.
Yeah, that's a
because
huge
they're
component.
basing
They're
their
taking part of their formulas.
their formula is pretty test based, and so in terms of, I looked at it somewhat recently, and I think we were 33rd. Does that sound right?
Maybe, yeah.
33rd
33rd in the state? or-
in the state for high schools, and so obviously there are 32 schools that were higher, including, for example, Bedford School District, I think was 3 on the list. And so if you look at their test data, I mean, I have to imagine that you're gonna see a correlation between those rankings.
So is it pretty common that after a transition to schools that you would see it would take like 2 years to see a significant jump in proficiency? Because if I look at our scores from 21 through 24, when that jump to grade 5 is made, to get somewhere close to where the state is or above the state, it's 2 years. So then you kind of have 2 years of being equal measurement, and then a jump is made again. So I would assume for grades like 9 and 10, we're gonna see, I mean, if I would look at the projecting down, does grade 9 and 10 then drop down to lower proficiency and then it creeps back up for 11 and 12?
Different
They
assessment when
don't
you get to
have
high school.
They don't have,
They
they
go
don't
right
take
to
this
SAT.
test, they take the PSAT, which also does have, test against the Common Core state standards, but it's a completely different type of test. So it wouldn't be a apples to apples
Yeah.
comparison, and we've done a deep dive, into the PSAT data. I think that was the March presentation that I did. And we saw some interesting things there because of the assessment culture. And needing to cultivate that more and really put the purpose behind it, and really make it relevant, right? Like put the data in front of the students and say, here's where you're at in proficiency. Like, is that accurate to you from what I see in class? Here's what I see. Just have data conversations and goal setting conversations with students, to help bolster the level of like, why does this matter to me?
Right. Yep.
Right. Which is conversations we're having, and we're also, like you've heard me talk about the modulars, right? Like we're getting those in front of students so that we can look at that and where are they and how can we help get them like more towards proficiency. So
Right.
we're doing modular assessments. We're going to do interims. So those things are getting out there in front of students this year so that they have that information starting from Q1.
Is it a safe or fair assumption to make that when we talk about transitions, that most school districts would transition between 5 and 6?
Yes. A lot do.
A lot, the vast majority do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then how come when we talk about transitions here, right, I would think that that transitions comment would be true for other districts as well, but I don't see that same data stat between grade 5 and 6. I see it going down 1%, a
Yeah.
couple of percent, not significantly like we do here.
Yeah.
So why is the transition such a big deal here and not in other districts?
It's a good question, and it's interesting to see that it's only 1 point, because I know coming from the previous district that I was in, they did transition from 5 to 6, and we did see drops, like pretty significant drops. Not as significant. I'm not going to sugarcoat the drop that we're seeing, but there were more than 1% drops. So, and I've talked to surrounding people, like, are you guys seeing these? And they are. So, I think that is something that we have really started to look at. And like I was saying earlier, how do we smooth out this transition from 4 to 5? Because it's clear that there's an issue there. So we need to identify it, really take a look at what the curriculum looks like for both, and make sure that we are continuing to build those foundational blocks so that they are solid, so that when we get into higher and more complex application, that they're ready for that part of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, the state dropped anywhere between 7 and 11%, 4 to 5, from 21 to 24.
I think, again, this is just historical perspective.
Right.
The board has known that this particular, the transition from 4 to 5 has been a trouble area for some time. I think that's been talked about and been seen over the different trends. Obviously, some of that talk went away during COVID, but everybody else was experiencing COVID, and it still seems to have hit us pretty hard. So I think we know that's an area that's an opportunity.
That likely leaves those kids catching up for 2 or 3 years before they're where they need to be.
Yeah.
Well, I think we just continue to monitor, and, next year will be really interesting because that'll be the first year with data with the horizontal work that you're doing.
Yep, and this year is the first year that they have to do a modular recorder for math, ELA, and science. So, and integrating it in very different ways. And but that's going to help give us data to monitor throughout the year for, and I was comparing it to preparing for, the Super Bowl. Like, you're the coach and you have the players and you practice, right? And then the modular is a game, right? And you're there and you're looking to see how they're playing, and they're monitoring themselves and how they're playing, right? And then you come back to practice again, like, how do we do? What do we need to work on? What do we need to fix up? Okay, now the interim is the playoff game. Right? It's a little bit more high stakes. We need to really show up, and this is why. And then we come back and we look at that, like, how do we do? And then the summative is like the Super Bowl, right? Like, it's time to shine. It's time to really show how, like, what your learning was in this year, right?
All right, want to shift gears to ELA, language arts?
All right, so again, looking at the vertical columns, you can see that ELA continues to be a strong point. District proficiency is steady. Grade 3 reached all the way to 73%. And then, of course, there's still some areas that leave room for growth and conversations when we're looking at that vertical cohort, or not the vertical, but the vertical column in curricular decisions, and then following the vertical alignment in that diagonal.
And we don't see the big dip in grade 5.
For
A
ELA.
couple years down.
Yep.
Yep, and that's why, so math has been, it's an area of focus that, so for elementary, there's only so many subjects that you could focus on at once, right? We have to pick a focus area subject and get that worked on and then move forward, like when I'm talking about going to visit them in grade level work. So when I go to my CA grade level meetings, the focus area is math, because we know that we need to beef up math, and not necessarily just in elementary, but obviously in middle, but we need to look at all areas and see where we can fill, because ELA is a stronger subject, for sure. And that's not new in other districts either. So if you look at the state data, you'll see it's stronger, right? Like ELA is a stronger subject, testing wise, for sure.
So are we attributing, or can it be reasonable to attribute the dip in the 2021 cohort from grade 3 to grade 4 and thereafter? And it looks like that's the only cohort that has a significant dip to it, to
Yes.
COVID.
Yes, I was looking at that and I said, you know what? They were in second grade
Yeah.
during COVID, and that's where you're starting to get your building blocks in ELA. So the fact that they got 54% in grade 3 was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But grade 4, so grade 3 is you're starting to read to learn, right? Like it starts grade 4, they're really in it and they're expected to know quite a bit more. So it's a lot more complex. So if you're building a house on popsicle sticks, right, that foundation's gonna get weak, right? But they did start to come back up in 7.
Oh yeah. No.
So that was good. I'm excited to see what they'll bring in 8th grade. But yes, that is.
Okay. No, it's just the thing that stuck out to me.
There's always quirks every year too.
Oh, of
like,
course.
you know,
Yeah.
just,
Every cohort has.
yeah, whether each cohort's unique, and then even within the cohort, there's just like weird things sometimes happen, you know, that they
Right.
just had a bad day, and sometimes it's as simple as that, and sometimes they have a great day. I mean, it'll be interesting to see this grade 3 group here starting off with a 73%. I mean, that's awesome. Like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, I don't want to like put them,
No
Like-
pressure.
yeah, but like,
Right.
that's awesome for like a first go around at this testing, you know, like if they maintain that, that's awesome. That's good. But I mean, I wouldn't be shocked even if they're with a good teaching going on, if that dips next year, because that's a really high starting point for that group. So
It
I was
is.
gonna say, come on, Evelyn, keep going.
No!
No, and as anything with data and aggregates like this, right, is it's not just about what the data says, but it's reading between the lines, and
Yeah.
what the data is also not saying becomes very important. Thank you. This is great.
Awesome.
Okay, any questions, any other questions on ELA? Nope, moving to science?
Did we talk about ELA State? Yes? Okay. Sorry. Okay. I didn't move. I can't see behind me. Okay, so science, we're just gonna put it out there, and we've already talked about the fact that it needs work, but that's true statewide. For whatever reason, they've decided to test science in grade 5, 8, and 11. That's it. So imagine being a student and you're taking the SAS science in 5th grade, but then doesn't come up until 8th grade, and then not again until 11th grade. How much emphasis are you really putting in, especially by 11th grade, right? Like, and again, talking about assessment cultures, and I actually have had really great conversations with the science team at CHS, and they're excited to put in the modulars and get this out in front of kids. And I was talking to them about, like, show them their 5th grade data, show them their 8th grade data, and say, like, how do you think you can improve for your 11th grade year, right? Like, again, put it in front of them and make it meaningful, because if we don't talk about it for 3 years, 4 years, and then all of a sudden it's, oh, this is this thing that I have to do, what am I going to do? Click, 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 and done, right? So we really need to, like, make it meaningful and authentic to students, so that it's not just a thing that they do every once in a while, right? It's different for math and ELA because they see it more often every year, but it's so, it's an interesting choice, but I've had great conversations with the science teams about how we can try to strengthen, and again, that vertical alignment and really digging into the NGSS standards and progressions. We did wonderful work this summer where Michelle Stover and Holly Love and Hannah Peterson, like, they looked at all the charts that were happening, and they made like a vertical matrices of where things are being covered and where there are gaps, and we've looked at that at the LMS PLC, and I showed the science team that at CHS, and GMS I go there tomorrow, but we're focusing on math there right now. But so we're really starting to get some momentum and have some really cool ideas and get traction for science. Any
Okay.
questions?
Questions on science?
Do we require 4 years of science in high school?
Science is 3 years. Trying
There's-
to remember the matrix.
It's 3, and then there's a lot of, and then you need a 4th year of a math experience, which sometimes could be a science course.
Right.
They've also kind of opened the definition of science up to what can be that science credit. For example, some CTE classes can cover that science credit for kids, right?
Mhm.
So the idea that kids are taking the traditional, like what I'm sure most of us probably took, physical science, biology, chemistry, physics, in that order for 4 years in high schools, some variation. There's less of that just in schools across the board now, you know. The science one, as a high school person, has always kind of perplexed me. School I was at previously, we got the same freaking score every year on the SAS test, and I think the science department there did a great job. The Campbell job does too, but it was just like nothing we could do could ever change the SAS test, and it was crazy. And just look at the state average. I mean, I struggle with the science exam. I mean, we as a state have a proficiency rate in the 30s. You know, like, I don't know if this is an effective assessment for our students when that's the proficiency rate, I guess is what I'm saying, so.
And again, I think it comes down to it's only given 3 times over the course of a student's whole school career. And the way, like, human nature is we put stuff into things that matter to us, right? And if they only see this thing every once in a while and it's not given a real purpose, then, and observations of proctors that are proctoring this thing is, right? Like,
So how do we make it important?
That's the
by
million-dollar
doing,
question.
by doing some things that we're doing, like we are putting the data in front of the kids. We are giving them those modulars. We're looking at our curriculum and making sure we're aligned to the NGSS standards. That's what this test is based off of, right? So we're looking at a variety of different areas, but I think really just having conversations more with kids, right? And 11th graders, you can be pretty frank with them and say, I know you don't like this test, right? Like, but we need to, like, this is time for you to show out of all of your years here in Litchfield, like, your science knowledge, right? And are you going to get through to some? Sure. Are you going to get through to all? No. But at least you're having conversations about the purpose behind things.
I do think when they have stakes in the game, it's better. So when we made the transition and this is high school, from some standardized test to the SAT, which has stakes for many students because they're going to college, right? And you saw a shift just from making that change, you saw a shift in the numbers for state reporting, and since the proficiency rate increased because they were more invested in what the assessment was. And that's an overall arching thing. I think with science, they're juniors, they have an idea what they want to do in the future. They'll be invested in an SAT, and then they'll try for the science testing, but just observationally, they're not sitting there and just filling in bubbles and putting their head down, but it's not the same level of stakes as that SAT is,
Right.
We'll get to SAT in a second. I don't want to steal Sarah's thunder, but, we got to make sure they take it seriously and that they do a good job with it. I'll just leave it at that for now.
Okay. Just
We're
moving
working
along, want to get into iReady?
All right.
So iReady, I know a bit of a grain of salt with this one, right? Because it's
Correct.
kids can manipulate the system a bit.
Yes.
Yep. So, and I've been kind of transparent on my feeling about iReady data versus SAS data, because we're looking at SAS. We're looking at, first of all, you're looking at, when you're looking at state, you're comparing New Hampshire to New Hampshire kids, and it's a proficiency rating on the standards, which is what we teach. We teach the standards. iReady doesn't, they're trying, but they don't correlate to the standards. They do grade level equivalence in what they determine is grade level, and it's a national normed test. So if you look at our data and you see how we compare as Litchfield, New Hampshire to other grades of the same grade nationally, like, we're doing really well, right? Because people always say, like, why is the iReady data so much higher? Because when you're looking at math, we are, I can't see my numbers, we are, like, killing it in all the grades, right? So that's really good to see when you're
I
thinking
don't know
about
that
it.
I would say killing it. I guess I look at this and I see, geez, grade 8, and I see 55% of the kid, or 55% of what this is saying is at least one grade level below in the spring of grade 8. So by the time they essentially finish grade 8, if you add up one grade level below, 2 grade levels below, 3 grade levels
Right.
below, that's 55%.
Yeah, so maybe not killing it, but much better than what you see in the SAS data. Does that make sense? So,
But do we have the SAS data for math?
Yeah, that's what we were looking at before.
yeah. So,
See the big drop
but when
from
you
fourth
do
to
look
fifth.
at this, you do see that when you're looking at students that are mid or above or early on, they are growing. So the bottom bar is fall, then the middle is winter, top is spring.
Yeah.
So they're consistently
There's growth.
there's growth in those areas, which is good to see. That's what you want to see, right? And iReady is the one assessment that we have to compare apples to apples to apples 3 times a year, right? And I apologize, I didn't fix my graph title. It should be fall to spring performance, not just fall to winter. But so again, but we are still digging deep into curriculum and instruction and how we can make things consistent, cohesive, and effective.
I think the data's, not pretty reliable, but more reliable for the younger grades because they don't know any better than the older grades that, know that if they just get it wrong, they get to stay on the same level and it doesn't get any harder. So why try? So for example, looking at kindergarten and not seeing any red on there, obviously, I don't know that you can go below grade level on kindergarten because there isn't a grade below that, but, it's positive to see some of the red being less by spring, for those grades.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions on iReady? Do you want to get into reading? Any questions on iReady reading? All right, let's move into SATs.
Okay, so SAT, I can only pull 1 year before, so I'm gonna keep the data. So I wasn't obviously here before 2024, so I'm gonna keep the data that I pull so that I can start doing more comparisons like we've done in the past. If that, like we just did in like the SAS, so that we can track better. But so this is what I have right now is 2024. So this is district and then state comparison. So the way that the College Board reports is they report on students that met both the evidence reading and writing, which is what the ERW stands for, and math proficiency. And then they break it out into, here's your students that did evidence reading and writing, met that proficiency level, and the students that met the proficiency level in math on the SAT. So in 2025, we went down in percentage of students that met both, and a little bit we went down a bit in all 3 areas. 4% in evidence in reading and writing. It's a little more nominal than the math, but again, something that we're looking at and meeting regularly. It's been awesome. I've been at every math PLC at Campbell for the last 3 weeks, I think. And we've been having a lot of really good conversations about things. So we're working on it.
So 2024 on ERW, we were 70%, that middle column.
Yes,
Then 2025, we were 59%.
correct.
And these are juniors? Or is it juniors and
These are
seniors?
juniors.
Juniors.
Yep. But we are, we were above the state. We're not. But we're, again, like we were talking about, like assessment culture and getting practice. We're putting in SAT practice and making sure we talk about the assessments, because I remember the school board reps, and they were like, we haven't really heard about it. So they have been, and they will continue to be.
So it's an 11-point drop, but it's really like a 15% drop. Ish.
From the 70 to the 59, you mean?
59, yeah. That's significant, but I do remember the young lady saying they don't have enough tests that are high leverage, or whatever the term is.
Yeah, the high stakes testing, which we just implemented this year again, the midterms and finals, which I think is gonna have a significant impact in how students learn how to sit for a high stakes exam. And also too, like Brian was saying, each cohort has its uniqueness, and from conversation I've had, like, that this particular cohort is one of those cohorts as well. So taking that into consideration as well. I don't know exactly why, but
I'm not sure I'm following that. This cohort is,
So the cohort that is in the orange was a very strong academic year. I think they had the most they had the most academic scholars that year. It was off the charts how many kids. Whereas the green data, that cohort has had some difficulties over the years, either behaviorally or academically, or has been a little bit more challenging.
state level? The green?
No, the green,
The
I'm sorry, the color.
The coloring is off.
Off.
between
I'm
the
so
table and the
sorry.
graphs.
Okay.
I apologize.
Yeah,
I meant to fix that.
that's all right.
No, but for
look at
the
bar graph.
current
Color
seniors this year, the current seniors, last year's juniors, have a reputation somewhat of being a little bit more difficult of a cohort than the year before. I don't know how to say it nicely, so I'm trying to choose my words. I like your uniqueness.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think what would be more helpful with the SAT data is more years, right?
Yes.
Agreed.
Because you can then see a pattern more.
And that's what
Whether
I
this is-
was saying,
Whether which class is the anomaly here, right? Like they're two very distinct classes, the class that graduated this year and the
Yeah.
class that's graduating this year in terms of their strengths and weaknesses. And I think it will be interesting to see what this group comes up with. Are they more like the group that just graduated or the group that's going to graduate, right? What's that pattern kind of moving forward, so.
And I will say, again, not to give you work, because you have plenty of work, as I saw from our committee meeting this afternoon. But the years past data is in prior meeting minutes and agendas for the school board. Now, is it easy to pull? Probably not. You'd have to go through and figure out what meeting that presentation, and it's usually around August, if that's helpful. Of years past, we get a data update.
Yeah.
But there would be 2023, 2022, 2021, because we have a similar presentation like this.
Yeah.
A lot of cut
yeah, and I
pasting.
even tried, I looked back at last year's, because Jake had SAT data, but he presented it in the ranges and not in the percents.
Percentage, got it.
And I feel like it's easier to do percentages, because it's just cleaner, because nobody knows what a 400 to 600
Yeah.
means.
But I do think that when we take it this year, we are hoping that we have a return back to where we were a couple of years ago on this course. So.
Okay.
We're implementing high stakes testing only in high school.
Well, we're putting back, what she means by that is bringing back midterms and finals.
Yeah. No, but that's for high school. We're not bringing that lower.
No.
I think we're doing that format, the midterm and finals, back into the high school, where it's like on that semester and that break thing. I don't think we're doing midterms, finals in like the middle school model, right? I mean, they have assessments of varying depth and knowledge there at the middle school. But I think it's important we bring it back to the high school and kind of see how they do
Yeah, I
and
agree.
prepare for college there.
Like middle school, they'll have like chapter 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a unit test that encompasses 1 through 5. I'm sure they do something similar to that at the high school, but having an exam, it was more competency recovery days for those
Yeah.
days, and I think it's great to have those back in there.
Agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
The other area that sometimes we get some data on that may or may not, I don't know if the board is interested, is on AP testing.
Yes, and I apologize for that. As I
I've just-
told you, I saw it in Jake's presentation later in the week last week, and I was like,
And
No
for your next
access
report,
to
I think it just kind of tells us where we are compared to other AP.
yep, I will get the AP data. Okay. So just to wrap it up, looking at this data and just the work that has been started, these are all things why I kept the CIA focus areas exactly the same. From, like I said, last year when I presented, when I came in and I looked at data and I started reviewing things that have been happening, these 3 areas stuck out to me, and those trends continue to take us into this year, which makes sense because we really, really need to continue with our vertical alignment work, shoring that up, and really using data as the forefront of our instructional practice. Like, where's our entry point and how do we know where we want our students to be, what they need to know and be able to do at the end. Here's the entry point. How do we get them from A to B, right? Using that data. And then if we have students that are struggling, or those students that are not struggling and they are ahead of the game, how do we bolster them, right? So all of that is encompassed in the targeted intervention piece too.
So there's no testing for social studies? I seem to think when my kids went through school, there was social studies
There's
standardized
so as
question.
of this last year, we are required to give high school students the civics exam before they graduate, which is the same exam that people that want to gain citizenship. So it's a naturalized citizenship exam. I don't know the exact name, but they have to take that and pass it. But in terms of regular, like, state social studies assessments, there are not.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. Any other questions? Hearing none. Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
No student reps yet, correct?
Next meeting, that's
Next
for
meeting.
us, we're supposed to be here.
All right, we'll look forward to that. We have community comment on agenda items, and seeing that there's no community here this evening, we'll close community comment and we'll move right over into correspondence.
On September 3rd, there was an email correspondence from Mr. Oblinus to the board requesting information regarding the Harriman kickoff meeting, and why why that meeting was not made public and recorded. There were responses from Mr. Cutter and Mr. Oblinus with respect to the meeting not having a quorum of the board and not being a public meeting. On September 3rd, Mr. DeWitt emailed Mr. Oblinus in response to Mr. Oblinus's September 2nd email, which was summarized in prior correspondence, wherein they were outlining the biweekly meetings between Harriman and our business meetings between the superintendent and his staff and the firm Harriman, not the school board, not FIC or public meetings. There were responses from Mr. Oblinus, Andrew Cutter, and Mr. Oblinus. On September 4th, there was another email from Mr. Oblinus continuing the dialogue about the Harriman kickoff meeting and why he would consider it to be a public meeting. There were responses from Mr. Cutter, Mr. Oblinus, and Mr. Cutter, again directing Mr. Oblinus to the statute regarding public meetings. On September 5th, Jan Sullivan emailed the board circulating the draft public and non-public minutes from September 3rd school board meeting. On September 9th, Ann Inamorati emailed the board circulating the 403B manifest. On September 10th, Ann Inamorati emailed the board circulating the credit card manifest. On September 10th, Julie Darling emailed the board circulating Harriman's pre-construction proposal. There were responses from Mr. Plansky and the superintendent. Specifically, Mr. Plansky had some questions, and the superintendent responded that he would be taking those questions to Harriman. On September 11th, Ann Inamorati emailed the board circulating the accounts payable manifest, which included live checks and EFT. On September 12th, Renee Burgess emailed the board circulating the draft September 17th school board agenda. And on September 16th, the superintendent emailed the board circulating first read policies that would be on tonight's agenda. And that brings us up to date as of noon.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have general business this evening and turning it over to the superintendent.
Great. Just our enrollment as usual, pretty steady, no big swings. Gained one in elementary, lost a couple in middle school and high school. We flipped grades a little bit, same number at the end of the day. So October 1st, which we ironically is also our next board meeting, is when we officially report our enrollment to the state. So those will be our official enrollment numbers on that particular day.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
enrollment. Next, we have a personal communication device public forum discussion for October 1st, which is our next board meeting. I just want to go over the board's expectations for that to make sure we set it up correctly. I'm assuming you want that at 5:30 as like the start of the meeting? Do you want it at a different time? Like,
No, at the start of the meeting, I think it's
Yeah.
appropriate, right? And open to the board's thoughts, right? My thought was just really public comment, right?
Yep.
Let's understand what is working, what is not working, and get public comment on the procedures that are in place.
Yep.
And understand, how it's going.
do you want to do that here? Do you want to do it in a different location?
Here?
Okay, sounds good. We had reserved other spaces just in case, but here it works for us, makes it easier to record, so that
Yes.
sounds great.
Yes.
Excellent. To prepare for that, especially at the high school, Ms. Mitchinson wants to send out a survey to the students. Kind of toes that line whether or not it's an academic survey, so we just wanted to let the board know that we're going
Why?
to send a survey to the kids, just to get their feelings on how it's going, right? Like, do they
Why?
feel?
Do they have a choice?
They don't, but if they,
Okay, why
the
send a
hope-
survey?
Yeah, I guess we're just looking for include stakeholders.
How
as much
it's
as
going,
possible.
they're gonna say, I don't like it.
Actually, you'll be surprised. Like, I do think they don't mind it. I think if they had their choices, obviously they would not want any sort of law or anything like this in place. That being said, if you just talk to like random kids and you ask them how it's going, they'll say like, I am more focused. I am doing, like, I'm having more conversations with my friends. I am like having that stuff. I think if you were to say like, could this go away tomorrow and you could have your phone back, they would be like, yeah, of course. But like,
100%.
considering, I think they don't hate it with as much passion as I think they thought they were going to be. I think that would be the point of the survey, is possibly to get that data from
I think
them.
it's important to get the data. I would be interested in it, especially since we don't have student reps yet.
Yeah.
So they haven't been able to weigh in all summer and into the school year. I just would love to hear from their perspective. I'd be interested how many students actually respond to it, but again, for stakeholder purposes, and that was the intent of the law, was to get, parent involvement and stakeholder. I'd be curious about a parent survey as well.
Yeah, I think we're going to do the same, but we don't have to ask permission to do the parents.
Understand.
So.
Yeah. But I think it would be, I think the information would be helpful. Even if it is, we want our phones back, that wouldn't be a surprise to anyone here, but we've at least asked the question and given students a chance to weigh in officially to the board.
I'm not opposed to it, I just asked why.
No, I mean, I think it's a valid point, but I'm not sure it necessarily sways us either way on what to do going forward, but I think it's important to give them a voice.
Other thoughts? Anyone strongly opposed to the survey?
No.
No, it's going to be like a 3-question
gonna be a
survey.
short thing,
I mean, it's
yeah.
not going to be a big.
Okay,
Yeah.
go for it.
Okay, sounds good.
Is it really considered an academic survey if it's not related to academic?
I think you
I
can
mean, I
call
guess
it an
it's
academic survey
peripherally.
because it's about their, their study
Okay.
habits or whatever, but just to be completely transparent about it, So Miss Mitchinson's new still, she wants to make sure she's going by
Err
the
on the
buck
side.
here on
I got
everything,
it.
So, yeah.
Just in terms of the personal communication device, technical name, how much policing has been done at the high school?
It's a good question. I think, but being candid, kids figured out we're not prying into their pockets and everything looking for their phones, right? So when a kid's responding, beginning of class to say, put your phone in the cubby or whatever like that. And if a kid's like, I don't have my phone, I left it in my car, there's not well, turn out your pockets and prove to me you don't have the phone, right? Like there's that trust with the kid that you're telling the truth. Now, when a freshman says they left it in their car, okay, that's a little bit different.
You're a freshman?
But like with the older kids, when they say that, we're trying to build trust with the kids that that's true. Now, is the reality is it's in their pocket or in their backpack, silenced and turned off? Yeah, that's probably true, right? But if they're not taking it out, if they're focused in class, if they're doing what they're supposed to do, that's the intent of all of this, is to be more focused on what's going on in class. We have had to enforce it, right? Like we've had teachers who, the most common way of enforcement has been a ringer has gone off and it's in its pocket, right? So it's hard to say it's in your car when you can hear the ringer go off. So that involves, the teachers calling Zach or Jen and coming up to get the phone. And I think it's first warning, they put it in the cubby in the office. And then the second one, they call the parents to come pick it up. I think they've had to call parents 3 times to get a phone, which means you got a couple repeat offenders. But otherwise, that's been fine. The vast majority of the kids are fine. We're not seeing it. My office sits on the library, as you all know. You can definitely tell they're not on their phones in the library because I can hear all their action, and they're clearly not face down looking at their phone, right? Which is good. Like it's good energy, good like noise that you're hearing coming from there and stuff like that. You're in the cafeteria, they're definitely more engaged with each other when they're eating lunch and doing all those type of things. So I think the enforcement's coming, but like, yeah, as we kind of expected, we're not like, if the phone's away and you're paying attention, that's what we wanted, right? So, kids figured out that's what we wanted, and then if they follow it, then great, and that's all we want to do. The middle school's a little bit different. They're a little more like rigid in the phone and cubbies because they don't have an excuse such as I left it in my car, right? So they're getting more use out of the lockers than we're probably getting at the high school at this point. But that's okay. The kids know it's there and know that if we have to go to it, we have to go to it. So, yeah, and that's been kind of, we talk about it from the state level, and that's been kind of the vibe at schools everywhere. Like we all thought this was going to be World War III and every high school across the state, and it's not. So, so it seems to be going okay with the enforcement of it all and stuff like that. Now we got to keep going. It's week 4 of the school year, right? We can't get tuckered out from it. We got to stay across the building, enforcing this. Kids got to continue to buy in. Staff's got to continue to buy in, and we got to continue to get support from our parents, because we haven't really gotten. When we've had to call that parent, we haven't gotten a ton of pushback from it, so that's helpful too. So we got to continue to do that. From an IP standpoint, we've had some deliberation meetings. Some have resulted in a student having a valid reason to having the phone on them, and some have not. So we've gone through the process. We followed that deliberation form and made the appropriate decision based upon the needs of the student and stuff. So.
Okay, thank you for that update. We'll look forward to parent feedback on October 1st.
Yeah.
CIP.
So we met Monday night. I just wanted to throw this on. It was a good meeting, I thought. Peter ran it. It was, tight. We were there, done in like an hour. Look at that. Crisp. So I just want to provide this update because what we left with that meeting, we presented our capital improvement plan. You've seen that over the course of the next 20 years and stuff like that. But I think we're going to do a couple of small tweaks so we can put some things onto the town CIP. One of them, more specific pricing on the parking lot at LMS and shifting that up from where it is in our capital improvement plan up a little bit because it needs to be up a little bit more, and defining a few things. Specifically, Julie's got a list where we can use the impact fees for these particular things, right? So GMS is GMS. We have the big GMS project. We have significant money at LMS, and I think we're targeting the parking lot for that. So making sure we get the parking lot specifically with a price and seeing an intent to possibly use impact fees for that into this town CIP is what we need to do. And then some of the significant exterior kind of brick and window stuff that needs to be done there at Campbell. It won't be for all the impact fees, but it could be up more, about $50,000, which would allow us to put us on that CIP plan for the town, access those impact fees to take care of that in the future. It's on that longer plan, but again, shifting it around a little bit. So we're gonna take that CIP plan over the next week and a half, do some small adjustments, nothing too significant. Still targeting, I think it's 2031, for example, the roof and everything at CHS, that will stay in that slot. But we'll make some adjustments. I'll send that to the board so you can see it as well, and we're gonna send that along to the CIP committee here in the town as well, so everyone continues to be informed of what we're doing from that. So just wanted to provide that update.
So my understanding, there's been some communication here from Ms. Kleiner on the impact fee process.
Yeah.
My understanding, interpretation of that communication was the fees that we've collected are based upon the approved CIP plan that was updated by the Board of Selectmen, approved by the Board of Selectmen last year, or maybe in 2023?
2024, I think it was last time.
2024.
Yeah.
And the fees that we've collected are specifically associated to the plan that was at that point in time, right? So if we're changing ordering of plan and fees that were already collected, we're not gonna be able to use them for that purpose.
I think I understand your question. I'm gonna try to answer it.
So, question is, well, my
Yeah.
question is more of a comment, more of a point. I don't think we can use the impact fees for parking lot.
So we had Jay here the other day, or Jay, what's
Jay
his last
McFarland.
name? Yeah.
Yeah.
And because actually there is parking lot language on the town CIP for LMS, it's packaged into a bigger thing.
It's coupled in.
It's coupled in with a couple other
Fields
things.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
For LMS, if the new GMS got built, we're gonna do that on the
Right,
whole
right,
project. So it
right.
isn't-
Yeah.
They were three separate items when
That's
you were
right.
on there, and then
Yes,
it got
because
consolidated.
We baked it all in, yeah.
Yeah.
So that allows us to use the impact fees for, that allows us to use the impact fees for the parking lot and stuff like that. Now, the CHS, like, I'm gonna say CHS walls, because I'm just gonna try and make it a simpler explanation, is not necessarily on the CIP right now. There's general kind of like money for district-wide capital improvements of about $125,000 a year. That is very broad, and that can cover us in terms of this right here, because it would be part of the district for CHS right there. Now, my understanding, I feel like we've been learning a lot about impact fees, all of us, over the past couple weeks, is that there was something done by the Board of Selectmen when they approved projects, and that dates back to maybe even 2022. Like, there was some sort,
There was a study.
there was a study, was that
Right.
2022?
It may have started in 2022, but 2024 was when the Board of Selectmen approved that.
Proved
The
that.
recommendations from the study.
Right, and so at that point, they had the 3 accounts for the schools, right?
Correct.
And then, so, right now, the projects have to be school-specific to match the impact fees. But we can still put projects on, like, into these 5 years, because the years are keep going. So even though, as long as we get the project onto this schedule, before we try to access the impact fees associated with it, if that makes sense, that we're okay with that. So even though CHS Wall was not specifically on here, we have district improvements. We're now identifying the specific target of those improvements, which would be the district walls. We have money associated with it for impact fees in the CHS account, so we can use that CHS money to do that. That all being said, we should be more specific in this. And Jay says now, especially as we've transitioned, like, any new projects that could possibly be approved by the planning board, right, Board of Selectmen, would go into one account for the school district, right? But we should be identifying on the CIP what projects we're identifying for impact fee use. So like when we update this with an updated cost for the parking lot, for example, for LMS, we should make note that we're identifying that impact
Funding
fees. Yeah, as impact fees being the possible funding source for it. Now, this all changed, right? Because I asked the question about rekeying GMS. How did
How did that happen?
how did that happen?
Yes.
So that was something that was allowed under the previous, I don't know if it was an agreement, but previous understanding of how impact fees were used. This is at a state level, it's not a town level. But something changed at the state level for impact fees, which is why moving forward, everything has to be on here and has to be identified as something that could be the funding could be impact fees to do it. Did I summarize that?
Yeah,
All right.
that was correct, but I don't recall, and correct me, Brian, if I'm wrong, I don't remember Kim mentioning that it had to be on the 2024 plan. It had to be on the plan, non-specific date. And I certainly was under the understanding that we could add to the existing plan and have it then be eligible for impact fees.
As long as it's on the plan before we ask for it, right? Like, we can't go ask for something now we can't go to the next Board of Selectmen meeting and be like, we just put this thing on the CIP, now we want the
money for
impact
the,
fees.
for the LMS parking lot. We're gonna add it, or it's not added, or if you say yes, we'll add it, whatever.
Right.
But if you have some correspondence from her, or?
No. My thought was an interpretation of emails, an email exchange was, we have to establish a Litchfield School District impact fee account, line item, I don't know, right?
That as well,
Separate from the
yes.
3 schools, right, for going forward, right? So we have the 3 schools now retroactively
Mhm.
set aside for whatever the purposes we're gonna use for those 3 schools. And then going forward, we have funds going into this one account, and it has to be on the plan to be able to use out of that one account. You can add to the CIP.
Yes.
But to be able to draw it from that one account, right, it's gotta be targeted and dedicated on the plan and specific to the purpose connected to that one account. Right, because it's already on the plan, right now, we have to have a purpose connected to one of the 3 separate accounts. Going forward, it's gotta be connected to the one account.
Right, so that's if a project is
So if
approved.
it's new from
A new
whenever this
project.
account's created and from the point we add to that, to the safely plan forward, that's the point forward where we gotta connect it to the new account.
Yeah, I would be interested in that communication, because I understand what you're saying. Basically, what she wants us to do is spend those 3 accounts down first before we go into this account.
Correct.
But I don't know that that's a requirement.
Okay.
Regardless, we're gonna update the town CIP with some of these bigger ticket projects, so they're there, and with the idea that we're gonna access impact fees to at least cover all of it or offset.
Do we have a quote yet for the parking lot, by the way?
We actually don't have an actual quote. I know we asked for it over the summer, and then we kind of backed off a little bit. But we don't have a quote yet, so we need to follow up with them, so.
And do we want to take anything off of the list?
Oh,
Was the other
we're,
question?
yeah, the other question we're gonna have is, I hope everyone's okay. We're gonna take stadium turf field and stadium field lights off the CIP list.
Ridiculous to ask for first.
Excellent.
We,
In the new GMS. We
Yeah,
have
and we're gonna-
renovation GMS is on.
yeah, we're taking the new GMS school off the list too. There's a renovation on there, our renovation / addition project. But we don't feel, yeah, I think it goes without saying, take the turf field and lights off of the town CIP. And we are in some raffle, nationwide raffle, that if we get pulled by Verizon, they will pay for a new turf field and lights for us. If that happens, we will cross that bridge if that 1 in a million chance happens, so. But I think we're gonna take it off the CIP list, we just have other needs, so.
Okay.
The board's okay with
No opposition.
that. And that's it for me.
All right, business and operations.
Let me see here. All right, so, with regard to impact fees, we obviously want to spend down the, fees that are expiring for the elementary school, in November. We did, ask our legal, whether or not we would be able to utilize the remaining funds, for the renovation project. And so essentially, yes, potentially we could. It's certainly, that is definitely a good use of impact fees, and it would be approved. The problem is that we haven't actually spent the money yet, so we can't ask for reimbursement for something that we haven't paid out yet. So we are working with Harriman to see if we can, to try to get an invoice for part of it. I think what we talked about is maybe if we look at one of the pieces that we want to add on, say like the marketing or, you know, another study or anything like that, they can kind of itemize that and give us an invoice for that. Having said that, we have to firm up our contract first because we still haven't done that. So that's a process that's going back and forth. We've already given them our legal feedback for the contract, and so we're just waiting to hear back from them on that. But it is a process. But we're still trying to work towards that goal of using the remaining funds that are going to expire for the GMS project.
I have an update on the Harriman contract when we get to Harriman in here.
Get there in a few moments. All right.
Right, DOE 25, I just wanted to update that that's still in progress, and we are certainly anticipating having that submitted in time for the October 1st deadline. And also just wanted to say that the DRA has a MS-25 form that is due as well, and that's populated directly from the DOE 25, so that will be submitted upon completion. With regard to the audit, I do have a letter here that I had attached to the agenda that just requires, it's a standard letter that our auditors give us every year, just basically outlining what they're going to do as a part of the audit. So we would just ask that we have the board's signature. It's actually just for the chair is fine.
But feel free to read it.
Yes.
It's exciting stuff.
And then as a part of the audit, we're still working with them. We're still, they're still asking questions and we're providing information. But thus far, the findings that we have, there are 6 findings. None of them are material weaknesses. And they are mostly with regard to student activities, which is the norm.
Student Activities Fund?
Correct. With those, at any of those, minor infractions, I do have a conversation with, if it's a student activity account, then I would have a conversation with, the admin assistant and principal that controls that fund. They sign something and then we go ahead and, obviously try to make changes so that we don't have further findings in future years. So we'll continue to work on that.
Why does that continue to be an issue for us?
I will say it's not specific to us. I think honestly a part of it is just that the control level is different. I think that using those funds it's just there's a lot more moving parts, whether, getting all of the paperwork that's required, having all of the signatures in time. There's a lot of moving parts with student activity funds.
The student activity, I don't know these specific ones yet because I don't see it till the end purposely, right? But thinking back to others I've experienced in my various roles, with the student activity kind of findings are typically things like someone bought donuts for their club and organization and left their coffee on the order as well and did not designate that they paid for the coffee separately, right? Like, that's the level of kind of error that we're dealing with student activity thing. Another classic one is people don't deposit the money from an event fast enough.
That's
You're supposed to
usually-
deposit the next business day.
We've been dinged on that before.
And if you don't do it the next business day, you get hit for that, right? So usually there's a point person in the building, usually an admin assistant who does the depositing, that runs over to the bank. If they're absent the next day and they pick the right thing and it doesn't get deposited until 2 days after, you get dinged for that, right?
The advisor doesn't get it to them on time.
It doesn't get to on time. Here, you have to have the 2 signatures to produce a check here for the student activity accounts, which is a little bit more than other districts do. One of the findings last year, for example, was there was 1 signature on the check and not the 2, right? So it's those, we shouldn't have them, right? Like, we want a perfect record. Rarely does a district have a perfect record on these type of things. What you don't want to have is the material weaknesses, which we don't have, which is good. That's a good sign. But those are the level of kind of usually issues. Now, I haven't seen this. I don't see it till the end because of the way the process plays out. But I would anticipate if their student activities is similar to that type of stuff. So,
Typically, we'll see this in January timeframe, so
Yeah.
we'll look forward to it around then. Do I have board approval to sign this?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
The last thing I want to talk about is insurance. So we have, for the last few years, had a cap agreement with Primex. I believe that was approved in 2023, that essentially capped it at a 9% increase that we could have for property and liability insurance increase for that portion of our policy. Unfortunately, that is going away at the end of 2026. So we are going to be getting the rates for 2027 in October, usually October 15th. We are anticipating an increase. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. There was indicators that had we not have the 9% in cap last time, it would have been closer to 20% increase. That, you know, there's a lot of moving parts there, but unfortunately, that is something that's going away. So one of the ways that we can mitigate the increase is that Primex does offer a program that you have to basically certify yourselves every year. And you could potentially get 2.5% discount off of both your property liability and your workers' compensation, which will cover both through them. So we're working through that certification. As a part of it, there are a couple of policies that we don't currently have that we would need to include. So I did include the sample policies that Primex gave us. I've also given the superintendent a couple other policies that I found that other districts have done.
Yep.
So that we can hopefully move forward with that. And
So
then I
those
can-
will be put through the policy.
Yeah.
We did look at them
Looked at them,
on
yeah.
Monday.
I'm writing them up right now, so I'll give you an update. I wrote them up today, actually, both of them. The seatbelt one's much more straightforward. We don't have anything, there's no recommendation for it, so we're taking Gary's and kind of taking it word for word. And then I'm gonna pass it off to our legal to make sure it's fine, even though I'm sure it is because another school district's using it. And Primex recommended it. Still, our legal should look at it. The motor vehicle one's a little bit more tricky. We actually do have a policy this would fall under. Now, separately, I think there's some things we need to update in that policy anyways. So this is a convenient time to kind of look at this policy anyways. It's about the utilizing of transportation. To summarize, it's a policy related to transportation not involving school buses. So if you're doing private transportation, say a parent driving a kid home from a sports game, if you're using, we don't have a school van, but if we had a school van and our people were using it to drive in any sort of those cases, the summary of the policy is that you have to have records checks for anyone who's going to transport students using these type of vehicles and certain insurance coverages to be the driver of these vehicles. So we need to add that to our policy. So wrote up a new policy today. We're going to send it to legal to look at. We're going to have it come through policy committee. Our intent is to have it for the October 1st board meeting for at least first read. We're going to ask Primex if we got these in check, and when we apply it to this 2.5% discount credit, that whole thing right there. The rates come out around October 15th, which would be the second reading of these policies if we're looking at the timeline. So we'll see if it's okay, if we get a first reading done, if they're good with it. But there's a chance I might ask you next meeting to do both first and second for these, so we can ensure we get this discount for our insurance with that. We'll send the policies in advance so you have enough notice to kind of check them out and stuff like that.
They're pretty common sense policies, for the record, and compliant with state
The
law.
seatbelt one is very simple. It's if you're a district employee in a district vehicle, like let's say maintenance, using the facilities truck, right? You're gonna wear your seatbelt. That's the policy, in a nutshell. So the other one is a little bit more in check because of the record checks and the insurance requirements, but the seatbelt one is short and sweet. Wear your seatbelt.
And we get a 2.5% discount, so
Yeah.
it's worth it.
And there's other policies that are part of this, but we have them on the books already, so we're good.
The other thing I wanted to add, not regarding Primex, but another insurance issue is voluntary accident insurance. The policy that we had it has gone away. So I was actually on a call last week with other districts, and everyone's kind of trying to figure out what we're going to do, whether or not we're going to continue to offer a policy. Essentially, through the same carrier, we can have different coverages, but we would have to pay a higher portion of that. And then it also leads to a question of, there are a lot of districts, it's not a requirement, but there are a lot of districts that are moving towards insuring each of their student athletes. So that is something that we are kind of just looking at, what is the cost of all of these things, so that we can have all of our, all of the options available to make an informed decision. But that's something that we would, certainly consider, something to think about. With regard to the voluntary insurance, essentially one of the big pieces of that is any student athlete has to have insurance coverage. If a family is not able to have that coverage for the student, this was a way for that student to still be able to participate at a lower cost to the family. But if we did the insurance with the district covering it, that would be something that would not have to be an issue for families.
This is a health insurance policy, or?
It's accident insurance essentially. So if something happens while they are participating in, said sport, the accident insurance also covers things like PE class and things like that. As long as the district is not doing something that is creating a situation for liability, we are protected. But it's just, again, another layer of protection.
How are these types of situations handled in the past?
More often, let's use student athletes, for example. So when you sign up your kid for student athletes, you use final forms, and one of the things is, are you insured, right? Every one of our current student athletes is insured through their families, right? So no one's had to access this or anything like that. That is most common. It's very, very rare that someone accesses this type of insurance, which I think is part of the reason why it's kind of going away, that it's not used. So that's kind of it's not frequently used, if at all, by districts, especially in a smaller district like this. So I think it's very rare. So we have it by policy that we would provide the opportunity for people to have it. It's not a required policy. It's not required of us to do that. I think it's for families that are looking to get insurance. It is a cheap way to ensure that their kid can participate in things, right, and are covered if something happens. And sports is the most common, right? But it could be any co-curricular. You're in theater and you fall off the stage and twist your ankle, something along those lines, right, or whatever the case may be. But it is used very, very rarely. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
It does.
yeah.
So I will certainly bring back more information.
My question's really about, why are we talking about this now?
I think it's
Why
going.
haven't we talked about it before?
Well, I think we're going to the budget. So if we have to, I think it's something to consider. If we were going to go away from this, offering anything for our students, we would need to change the policy associated with that and kind of go take those steps to do those type of things. If we were to look at doing one of these other coverages to ensure whatever, for example, right now by policy, you have to have insurance to be an athlete. If a kid didn't currently have insurance, we could push them to this insurance to cover themselves and still play their sport, right? But if we don't offer anything and they don't have insurance, we're then saying you can't play sports, right? Now we could do that. For example, this year, every single athlete we checked with Tony checked that said they have insurance. Now we're not following up on that to the extent of collecting all of their insurance. It's a trust thing, but we haven't had anyone access it for that purpose this year, right? So I think we're looking at it. It's something to talk about through the budget process, because these are going to be different rates. So if we were to continue, there's different tiers, right, of coverage and stuff like that. It's about $800 currently, right?
That was what we were paying for the last several
This is what we were paying right now, so it's not a big ticket thing, but it can get exponentially more expensive depending on the tiers you're looking at and stuff. So we just want to bring it to your attention, I think, more so now.
Okay, thank you.
So
Where are we with solar?
Just about to ask that.
Great question.
Yes, we are going.
So I sent an email. I'm not as nice as Julie when I send emails. And I haven't gotten a response yet. I met with legal about it, and we're trying to
They
set up
shut
the
down?
meeting. Yeah.
Are they still in business?
They have a nicer website, so take that for whatever. So I've requested a meeting with our legal presence, talk to legal about a strategy.
Okay.
I'm gonna bring out that, the last memorandum I don't know if this has got any teeth, said it would be done over summer break, and we're now 2 summer breaks away from that memorandum, so I view that as a
When
violation
did
of
you,
that
may I
contract.
ask when you called?
What's that?
When did you go?
Email. He emailed.
Or-
Oh, this week, earlier this week.
Earlier this
I
week.
met with legal earlier this week and then sent the email. Tuesday?
Yeah, that makes
so-
Oh,
sense.
yesterday.
Yesterday?
Yesterday.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I met with legal the other day, Monday. Or had a phone call with legal. Yeah, so we'll go from there. So haven't gotten a response yet, so we'll see where it is. But we're trying to set that meeting up, trying to put some pressure on them, and we'll see where it goes. So.
Okay. Thank you.
When does our power agreement for LMS run out?
But
Now that the solar
Hasn't
is on?
started
Hasn't
yet.
started
Started,
technically.
'cause
It
of
has to be completely done. The storage
Oh.
system has to be in
Your
place.
one hasn't kicked in yet.
I mean, this is part of where we're in this weird legal quagmire of it, because Kay, the person who we deal with, her argument is that we're not taking any of the financial hit, she's taking it all. And while that is technically true, because we have a level funding, and then the increase will not kick in till 6 years after the completion of the project, right? Like, that's when it starts to kick in. But we need to plan. Like, my whole point is, like, we need to, 2 points. One, we need to plan, right? We need to know, we talked about warrant articles last spring about trying to set something up in case we wanted to buy all the equipment for ourselves down the road. We're not just gonna have $500,600,000, who knows what it will be years down the road, money sitting around to make this purchase. We have to plan out for it. If there's uncertainty when this completion date is, how can we plan for it? So it is hurting us, because we're hung up on trying to do long-term financial planning here. The other is just the credibility of the project in general, right? Like, you're frustrated, we're frustrated, the community's frustrated.
Oh,
This
yeah.
was promised to be done years ago, and it's not done. And it's just, we're gonna try to move potentially another massive facility project forward. We need to build trust with the community. That stuff's gonna get done on time when it's being done, right? So, that's the frustration with
No,
it, so.
I guess I probably should have been more clear. Currently, we're paying a flat rate for electricity through Eversource for LMS. The solar grid is active.
Yep.
So who's getting the benefit of the 439 kilowatt solar grid right now?
I don't think, benefit, I think if my understanding of solar is correct, and I'm sure it's not, but like, if my understanding is correct, there's essentially waste here. Because nothing's being able to be stored right now, because there's no storage for it, right?
Right, yes.
So we're taking the energy to fund ourselves, right? Now, it goes through Eversource and comes back, right? There's a whole, it's not just directly from the panels to our power. But the excess, like that is being collected, is just not being put to use right now,
Correct.
right? It's just wasted. So it's,
Eversource is selling it to other people.
People.
Yeah.
Right. No.
That's
right.
what I'm wondering, is
it's a-
Eversource
it's a
making out on
credit
this?
to Eversource, and because we're not storing it, right, it just stays with Eversource and they sell it to other
Yeah.
people.
So are we still
But
paying that
we're
flat
still
95 or
paying-
whatever it was?
But we're still paying a flat rate.
correct.
When does that flat rate stop?
My understanding is 6 years after the completion of the project, that clock starts.
Correct.
Because then we have to make a decision whether at that 6 year, we have outs at 6, 10, and 25, I believe. And at any of those intervals, we can decide to buy everything for ourselves. And then we're dealing directly with Eversource with it all, right?
Right.
If we'd elect to not buy out after year 6, in the contract is an escalating amount of money, right? It goes up a certain percentage every year, so 100,000, 105,000, 110, so on and so forth, so.
I guess what I see is we have a potential to have a $0 electrical bill for LMS currently with the solar grid on it, right? We should be generating well in excess of electricity for that building. And except for at night, so it should be dramatically minimized. And what I'm hearing is we won't see any of that until after the thing gets paid for in 6 years, after the project is complete.
We won't get any of the return on the system until after it's paid for sure.
Well, I'm not
We have to
even,
own the system, right? Because we're still gonna be in a fixed payment through year 6 until we buy the system.
Right.
Right, and so we're still paying $97,000 a year, right?
For Eversource electricity for LMS,
But
even though we
we're-
can generate.
We're paying
well in
$97,000 a year to Dynamic Grid, right? Yeah, to Dynamic Grid, right, for the energy and for the array, right, under this price arrangement,
excess.
right?
Okay.
Now, we still have an Eversource bill. Is there an Eversource bill on top of that too?
There is an Eversource bill, and that there's a difference one, I think there's a fixed amount for each month. And so if it's over that, then K
Right, because
pays the
it's,
difference.
we're a net
Yeah.
metering state,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And so
Okay.
whatever the difference is in usage versus what the array's putting out, we owe.
So that's how Kay gets paid, right? For the 6 years after the project is finished, she collects the benefit for the 6 years until we buy out the system.
Correct.
Okay.
And she's also getting paid based upon tax incentives.
Yeah. Okay. That just hurt my head. Okay.
So we really need the storage to be able to,
In order to save
to
the
get
energy.
real savings.
Right.
Well, I
Whether
mean,
that we save
well,
and run the building or we
so
sell it back.
if we want to get to a net zero, yeah, we need the energy storage. But even just having the active grid on a daily basis, we could potentially generate enough electricity to where during the school day we pull nothing off the grid.
That's the idea. I mean, we've got
Right.
880 panels. We should be able to generate enough energy
right.
to run the building per day.
And then the excess goes into the battery storage, so then it just satisfies itself overnight. And I can't find those design calculations and plans to do it. But I guess what bothers me is that this contract says that even though the project is not finished, we could see a significant savings in electricity, probably beyond the flat rate of 97,000 a year, just by having the solar grid active. And basically, Eversource says you generated more electricity than you used. So, like, here's energy credits. I mean, it's going to be minor in compared to having the energy storage. But that's like that's kind of like the standard setup putting solar on your house. Is that you put in enough solar to lower the amount you pull off the grid. But the contract is set up for 6 years, we don't see any of that. So
If we pay it out after after year 6.
If we pay it out. So that's potentially 6 years of, call it 80% of our electric bill for LMS we could be saving. That we're not gonna realize.
Because it hasn't started.
Because it hasn't started. And because of the way the contract's set up is that we're in a flat rate to K for 6 years, if we buy it out.
So your thought is, it's better for them if they don't get it fully operational.
Depends on who's getting the,
Yeah, it depends on who's getting the credit, right? Is in theory, we're generating 439 kilowatt hours of electricity with those 880 panels. I highly doubt we're using that every day. And so we're pumping electricity into the grid. The way this is typically done is the grid provider pays you energy credits. My guess is K is getting those credits.
Well, that's why we've asked to monitor on a monthly basis what the output is and what the Eversource bill is. So we'll be able to clearly see.
I see. I think I'm getting it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the idea is, if I play this out, right, like we buy it at the end of 6 years, we that expense goes out for that. Let's just say, for argument's sake, $600,000, round number. Then you can project out, but then we're done paying the energy cost, right, because it's our stuff, right? So that bill becomes zero.
For the vast majority of the year, correct.
Correct, yeah. And so once we've gotten past savings of once we've gotten past that $600,000 mark, that's where the savings kind of kick in,
Mhm.
right?
That starts your ROI.
I wonder if then we can tackle that. That's where a possible financial loss could be. I mean, there's assumptions there.
I mean,
Is the, anyone see what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm making
so,
sense.
right, so you could tackle that from an ROI perspective. You could look at our total cost to hire Kay to do all of this work was X. It's gonna cost 600 grand to buy it out. And the objective was, they were to be completed in what, 23?
Yeah.
Now 25. We're now seeing our start date of ROI is now 2 years later.
Right.
So you could take that and say, we're gonna incur, because the panels are still aging, all of your infrastructure for those panels, the inverters and everything is still
Maintenance
aging by
associated.
2 years.
Yep.
You could look at, we're gonna have a decreased satisfactory operational lifetime of 2 years now. So technically, your serviceable lifetime of this system is reduced by 2 years
And counting.
and counting.
There's gonna be 3 now.
It's going to be 3, but now you're going to have to split that out by, you're looking at the panels and the inverters,
Yeah.
and everything. But I mean, it's just, I mean, serviceable lifetime is 80% of maximum of rated efficiency after 25 years is standard for solar panels. So we're down to a 22-year lifetime on those panels.
Okay.
A lot of math there.
It's a lot of math.
You're the math guy.
I just gotta understand it first, then I can do it. It's solar.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I don't know what the panels cost, and I don't know how they
At the
want
end
to
of the day,
calculate
get the
what
damn
that
thing
is.
done.
Yeah,
Right, and we need to be thinking about the maintenance and repairs bills when things do go wrong, right?
Mhm.
Because it's going to hurt us if that thing is not fully operational.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else from a business and operations standpoint this evening? Okay. Anything else from a curriculum?
Yeah, so just wanted to give a quick update on the committees. Our Learning Outcomes Task Force met last Wednesday and had a great first meeting. We are going to continue focusing on depth of knowledge and curating resources and what that looks like to help keep that top of mind as we're going through the year. And then the Litchfield Curriculum Review Committee met this afternoon and had wonderful conversations on the novel and supplemental text process and also the movie and film approval process. We looked at policy IJK and which is going to be updated based on the new Ed 306 rules. So our procedures need to be updated as well. So we really dug into that and have some great next steps moving forward, which I'm excited about.
Okay, good update. Any questions?
Nope.
All right, public minutes from September 3rd, 2025. Everyone have an opportunity to review?
yep.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from September 3rd.
Thank you very much. We have a motion.
Second?
We have a second by Mr. Plansky. Additional discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Abstained? That's 4-0. All right, here we go. Policy.
All right, first one is pretty simple, straightforward. Meeting minutes policy, if you go to the proposed one right there, you'll see the change. HB 231, I think it was passed, and due to that passing, it is recommended that we add 2 lines into the policy. One, if you click into it and you go into required content of the minutes, one addition is the name of the person who produced or prepared the minutes should be included in your minutes. And the second is that the start and end time of the meetings are required to be part of the minutes. So it's now required by law. We added it to our policy. That's the only change to this one, so. I don't know how you want to do these, if you want to just do that one real quick, and then we can talk
I
about the
will
rest.
approve policy BEDG for first and second read.
Second.
Motion by myself, second by Ms. Ames. Additional discussion?
No.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained, 4-0.
The next batch here, there's no changes to the policies, but by policy, we're supposed to update you when we change the format. So we are putting it on the new format, so there they are. Those ones got done. The next set, there's a set of 4 here that have been updated slightly, so I'll give you a quick overview of each of the updates. The first one is accident reports. The big change to it is it's also including employees in the accident reports. There's some updated language to better align with the School Board Association when it is the School Board Association policy, but compared to our previous one was specific to students. This includes students and employees, and what has to happen when it comes to filling out accident reports relevant to that. So the tone of the policy hasn't changed, just the addition of employees as well. Prevention of drug and alcohol use. I'm going to do these as a group. I can pause there, though, if you have questions.
No.
Okay. Prevention of drug and alcohol use by students, just some updated language. It streamlines the policy a little bit, but it's the same thing. Don't do drugs and alcohol in school. It's bad for you. So that's the crux of the policy. It's updating the laws that are associated with it, that go along with it. So nothing too big there. Administering medications, a very minor thing, but it's important to our nurses, so we wanted to make sure that we have this update in here. You'll see, and when you click in, the 2 brings you to the 2 changes. They're generally the same thing when it comes to medication. They wanted to make sure there's language around where it is stored, how it is stored with the nurses, rather than just in general. So that opening sentence, shall be stored with, shall only be stored with administrator taken by students during the school day in compliance with that policy, the procedure there by the nurses. And if you go down to the field trip stuff, it also talks about including language about the storage of it, not just the administering of the medication. Everything else is essentially the same. We ran all these policies. I should have started with that through our nurses' office, nurses in the district, so they felt comfortable with all of them. The other change, the JLCD, is minor in the terms of you should really take out the procedures and the forms of the policies. They should be their separate entities, so we have done that as part of this policy. Our previous JLCD, current JLCD, has all the forms in it, has the procedures attached to it. You'll see on the agenda here, we just pulled them out, so they'll be standalone things. This is easier when people are trying to find the forms and everything in the folders and stuff. And then emergency plan for sports. Open it, remember I said the right thing here. There's a recommended addition to add that school-sponsored activities have at least one person present who is certified in CPR. So we added that into that policy right there.
And we can accommodate that?
We can. Yep.
Is there a separate smoking policy?
Ooh, I don't know off the top of my head. I can look though. Look it up. I don't know.
Because that's not covered
Yeah.
specifically under drug and alcohol.
Give me a second. I will look.
Do you remember?
I feel like there was.
Question. Be under students. See if I can find it real quick.
Would it be called smoking?
Maybe tobacco.
Prohibitions regarding the use.
Tobacco products ban?
Yes, it is
ADC.
policy. We just did it. I should have known this top of my head. ADC,
Well, like, I think there is.
GBD, JICC. Prohibitions regarding use and possession of tobacco products, e-cigarettes, and e-liquids in and on school facilities and grounds.
We updated to include all of the vapings.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right, thank you.
Good.
They all start to blend.
They do, let me tell you.
As Tina called it, alphabet soup.
It's brutal.
It is accurate.
It is brutal, and
Why don't you just like number them or something?
I'm sorry, there is significant work that we need to do related to policies. I'm sorry, but there just is, of cleaning stuff up and everything, so, this is just a focus, and
It's like a spider web.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
catches more and more of that.
we got like 20 in the wings. We're not gonna put them all out at one time, but they're just like waiting there, ready for different meetings and stuff. Last thing on that little one, if you're just curious, we do have an emergency athletics plan for athletics that we update every single year, and that's a copy of it right there on the agenda, if you're ever curious, so.
Thank you.
So I asked if you could, whether separately or as a group, you could do those, 4 policies right there for first read.
Go for it.
Want me to do it?
Yeah.
Okay, I will make a motion for first read, policies EBBB, policy JICH, policy JLCD, policy JLCJA.
I will second.
Motion by myself, second by Ms. Ames. Additional discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 4-0.
Thank you. As I mentioned before, next meeting, you're gonna see first read for those other 2, policies, and then maybe one more. We'll see how today's meeting went with the curriculum people, so. That's it for new business.
Okay. We have old business, and I have one item to add for old business, but we can do it at the end.
Yeah, so we want to provide, I have 4 bullets there, but I might bounce around just a little bit because it all ties together. So GMS, again, project, we talked about that, renovation, possibly reconfiguration, that's all of that. So meeting with Harriman, we had our bi-weekly meeting with them last Thursday. Went well, continue to talk about the project and the steps we have to take. We've been providing them a lot of information, anything they asked for. Good example today was we have provided them the maps for the buildings and then room associations and the adults in them. And then today we met, Dan and Moore did most of the talking, but we met via Zoom to go over the educational programming needs at the elementary school level. We'll do similar conversations both with the middle school and high school principals in about the next week-ish, give or time and stuff like that. So they understand the full educational needs and the current educational setups at all 3 of the schools to kind of go from there. They've met with the staff at GMS already. Obviously, that's the most critical group to meet with, but they'll also meet with the staff at both LMS and CHS in the time ahead. We've been working on the contract. I want to go over some of the questions that came through regarding the contracts. We got questions from them. We met, just to be transparent, we dismissed everyone from the meeting Thursday so we could just talk contract with them in a more private setting. And they've adjusted the contract a little bit. We have it. It's going back and forth between legals right now. But to summarize, the contract is for these pre-construction services. So it's for what they would call phase 1 and phase 2. So it takes us through a potential March vote for the project. So those kind of first 2 stages of it. They showed the pricing for the full project if it goes all the way through, and we stay with them. But we are not bound by staying. We are not bound to finish that out. For example, if this goes to the ballot in March and it is voted down, we can go our separate ways and call it a day there. If we wanted to come back for another year and stick with them, we can do that, and it outlines our ability to kind of continue to do that. If we get a positive vote on this part of the project, and for whatever reason we want to go in a different direction with the design firm that we're working with, we can do that. Like, we're not bound to continue with them through this contract. If we're successful, I think I would recommend we continue. We would have to update the contract at that time accordingly. But some of that pricing, when you saw that all the way out, was them trying to be transparent with what it would take for the entire way through and stuff like that. So it's those first 2 phases. They estimated those pricing when they were bidding for us. They estimated that at about $180,000. As they've gotten a little bit closer and seen what we're working with, they're now putting that at $72 for the first 2 phases, which comes out to about $144 for the work they're going to do. They talked about through the bidding process, other things they could do, like the website, some of the PR stuff that's connected to it, which, for lack of a better descriptor, add-ons as a way. And those are broken out in the contract, and we can follow through on some of those things, which we should do. At the most, those add-ons would add on an additional about $21,000, right? Or 26. I'll double check that. Whatever it is, it's less than the $180,000 that they quoted at us at the start of it.
So
Julie will catch up.
honestly, and Dan, you can correct me because you were at that meeting too. My understanding from their presentation was that was part of that was included.
I'll be honest, I thought so too, until I saw it broken out in their contract there. I don't know if I
For
misunderstood
the
that.
website.
For the,
Um,
I think it was clear in there, in the proposal they provided.
Yeah, I mean, I feel ultimately comfortable because it's less than the 180 they put out there for us. So if that was something we misunderstood in that kind of presentation, then
That's all I was,
Yeah.
why I was asking the
know, I
question,
think it's a
because
very
that's
good
how I
question.
took it.
I was a little surprised I saw those things broken out because I also was under the impression it was included in the overall cost, that 180 they quoted to us. But maybe we misread that or something as they did that.
Yeah.
Not misread, but
26.
I don't know.
26,000.
it was 26, yeah.
Website.
So 144, 26, that takes us at 170, which is still less
So
than.
the studies, do we need the studies? Don't we have like a recent study? Something that isn't stale?
I would recommend
From
the
the
town,
last time.
I would
Demographic study.
recommend it, yeah. I think because those studies are studies we can use, period. Whether or not for this project, for whatever, I think it's good tools for the district to have done, period. So I would advocate doing those studies for the project and stuff like that. So that keeps us in the 180 we thought it was with that. 170 looks like the cap of what that money would be. And we're not bound to do the rest of the stuff with them at that time. Sorry, I have the questions here. So in terms of the grade redistribution, I think there was a question that came through with that. Their proposal states they're looking at, pre-K through 2, 3 through 6, 7 through 8. They said they're just using that as a launching off point because they got to start somewhere, right? If they go through the process and they think the configuration is different, say 4 through, pre-K through 3, 4 through 6, something like that, 6 through 12 at the high school, whatever, they'll factor that in, but they got to start with something, so that's where they were starting from. But they're not bound to that. If there's something better that comes through the process, they'll go for that. They understand that the priority is the on-site insight report, specifically the first 5 years of that report. That's where they put their focus in. They showed us the thing we produced in FIC, right, which had the list of the first 5 year stuff. They have it in a slightly different form, but everything kind of listed out, and that's what they're prioritizing when they're going to do their work and everything as they put their designs forward and stuff like that.
and they're working with Mr. Mitchell on the stuff in yellow, the education.
That was part of our
knowledge,
conversation
yeah.
today, right? Yeah, with them and stuff like that, so.
So my guess would be once we get what the 5-year number is to do that, all that stuff, then he can go down and say, here's the list of what we want and this is what it's gonna cost and this
Right.
is what we're comfortable with.
Yep.
For the final number.
Yeah, yeah. I think that answered all the questions. We gave it to our legal. They gave us some suggestions on adjusting just some protection things for us or clarifying things such as that there's an out for us after at different phases and stuff like that. Harriman seemed amendable to all that, so they're just running it through their legal and then we should continue to be good with that. So, I don't know if you have any other questions on the contract.
What are we doing on timeline?
We're moving. Every day there's something, so, part of the timeline, I didn't list this on the agenda, I was just gonna bring it up. We talked to Kim, Monday night, and then she followed up with an email, or she sent the email first, and then we followed up, it's all blending together, about getting going on bond council, for that. So if the board's okay with that, we're gonna start that work the recommendation is to have bond council separate from our typical legal, so it's a separate entity. She gave us a person that she's worked with from the town side before, so we're gonna reach out to that person.
Who did we
and
use
start-
before?
Yeah, do we have the contact from before for bond council?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
will take
we
that
do.
too.
It's Renee
Yeah, that's it.
Lehulier from Divine Element in Concord.
Pretty sure that's the person that she recommended.
Yeah, you have it right there.
I know
Yep.
her. That's the only reason
That's
I
who
remember
she,
her.
Yeah, exactly.
that's who she recommended too, so.
Bingo.
Yeah. That's her field.
Yep.
That's her niche.
So we're gonna reach out to her as long as the board's comfortable with that and get that all going and everything, so we can start doing as much work for that as we can, as we kinda go
Yeah,
along.
that takes time.
Yep, so that's why we wanna get on it and start, that's obviously new to the two of us, so more time the better for us to get going on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key for bond is how much is it going to cost?
Mhm.
And that's the
Which
big
brings
wild
us to
card.
our construction manager, which we are making slow progress on. Harriman's got it, sending it out to the people who do this, and then we're hoping to have one in place.
We need to have the contract needs to be finalized.
Oh, the contract needs to be finalized, thank you.
We're waiting to get that back from Harriman. They
Correct.
have, yeah.
And then hopefully we'll be rolling on the construction manager as well. So we're working. I mean, we're gonna see where it goes time-wise. We are on a super tight timeline. Like, it's either gonna happen or it's not, you know? Our goal is to make it happen for March, but also not force it if it's not ready, right? So, Harriman's been working. We have a lot of contact with them, and, we'll see where it goes.
So the construction manager is part of what we approved, the money for that
Yes.
too?
Correct.
For the,
Yes.
out of the trust, yeah, up to. Yeah, we estimated
We
between
had-
20 and 30 to that, so.
We had approved up to 225.
That's what I thought. I don't think it's gonna be a total of 225 when it's all said and done, but if for some reason we have to come back and ask for more, then that's
Yeah.
bad, but hopefully.
And just to clarify for everybody watching, the construction manager is gonna give an independent look hired by us to give us confidence in the price that Harriman gives us for the bond, right? So it's meant to give us reassurance, the town reassurance of we're going away from the firm and saying, is this cost feasible for the project that they outline? And I think that's the key thing that provides, is that we're getting a outside independent look into the cost.
The last thing is we're gonna do a community forum on October 7th at 6 PM at GMS. We're gonna be promoting that significantly, over the next 3 weeks, so everyone's welcome to join. Not just parents of students, please, anyone in the community is welcome. Welcome, we're putting on social medias and our websites and posting it around town.
I was gonna say, can you send out the digital copy of that flyer?
Yep,
Yes.
yep. We got it all done in the schools today, and
Perfect.
we're getting it out tomorrow and Friday as well.
We have
so.
to get into the 55-plus communities.
Yep.
Yes,
We've
we're
reached
working
out
on that
to
as well.
all of them. Renee's helping us with that, to get to their chairperson, so we can get in front of all the 55 pluses and
Yes,
meet with them and try and get them to some of these forums and stuff if they can. But at a minimum, that we can go to them and see, and explain what we're up to and what we're working on and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that, is that I saw that email came out, Joe responded, and I don't know if, the other people in that email responded as well as to contact, but I think Renee's just hunting it down.
She's hunting it down. Yeah, she's got them off one by one. The other thing, Harriman is amenable to, presenting to whoever else needs to be presented, right? Like, we want to bring them to the budget committee at some point, board of selectmen, whoever, right? So if that's something the board is interested in, I'm not saying next week, but like, as we go through this process over the fall, if you have ideas or thoughts on who would be good people to get them in front of, good committees to get them in front of, they're definitely willing and able to come in and do that stuff for us, so.
Okay, good to know.
Any other questions on it?
Anything on Harriman?
Joe forwarded me the email you sent to him on the questions that he had, so I'm good. I guess, have we reached out about getting the signs from Continental?
No, because we don't think we're gonna get them.
Okay.
So, like, because Dan's reached out for other things and has not gotten them, but we will, but I don't think we're gonna get them. So
Okay.
those would be the big light up construction lines to advertise
Yeah, the big
some of
orange
this stuff.
signs.
We looked into what it would cost to rent. It's like $750 a week to rent one. I don't know if that's a good
What
use.
about the one that's at the end of Albuquerque?
It's
That's
Continentals, I think.
that's just sitting there on.
I mean, we're gonna reach out, but I've been told not to be optimistic, but I don't know though, so.
Yeah,
I'll be optimistic and maybe
Yeah.
they'll work with us.
I mean,
Sitting here.
beyond that, it's just, let's get them on the let's get the notice on the letter boards and let's just get it out.
That's what I got.
Great. You guys are doing excellent. It's a lot of work, right? This is a lot of work in a very short timeline. You guys, let me know how the FIC and I can help
I think the big thing is gonna be, we can cover most of the school contacts, right? We got newsletters, we got websites, we got, Renee's good at keeping our own social media up to speed and stuff. It's the community, and I will go talk to whoever, go talk to the 55-plus community, I'll
Yep.
talk to whoever. I just don't always know who the players are, and that's
Yeah.
the stuff we need help with.
I have a few of them.
Yeah.
Right, from past projects that we've had,
Yep.
we've gotten into a few of them.
Yeah, more than happy to meet and talk with anyone about this and schools in general, because I think, I
Yeah.
mean, that's my plan, is to go talk about the district in general. Obviously, this is a big part of it, but
Yeah.
tell them about all the good things happening, so they feel included, so. But if you have suggestions, input, let us know. We're happy to take the road show to wherever we need to go, so.
Okay, anything else from your side on old business?
No.
The one item that triggered my memory tonight for old business, when you mentioned AP data, right? We had mentioned at a meeting probably some time ago
Oh, yeah.
about the data, about the exam fees.
Yeah.
How we were gonna have a discussion about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, let's do that next
the board
meeting, so
level.
we don't forget. Yep. I'll add it to the agenda for next meeting. It's about the requirement and the GPA part and all that stuff is good to circle back on, because we're not at test signs up yet. It's the perfect time to talk about it. I'll add it for
Correct.
next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Moving into manifests, so we have several manifest items that were signed this evening. We have payroll for $424,649.45. We have 403B for $8,251.56. We have a manual check for $1,608.58. Another manual check for $2,398.18. Another manual check for $315.18. Two accounts payable for $88,505.38, and the second for $125,829.40, and a credit card manifest for $4,339.71. With that, we'll move into our second community input this evening. Seeing since nobody has joined us this evening, we'll close our second community input, and we'll move into school board comments. One comment I have is I want to give a shout out certainly to all the work that's being done, not only across the district for opening the schools and getting everything ready for the kids to come back, and just the hard work over the first few weeks, but I recognize the work that was done at the LMS fields, right? So I personally walked the fields a few weeks ago, and for those that have not been down there, one of the encumbrances the board did at the end of the school year last year in June was to put some monies aside to fix up and redo the softball and baseball fields. They look fantastic. We even, I got some compliments even from the rec commission, right, on how good they look. So,
That's awesome.
nice job. Yeah, they really came out excellent.
Absolutely. We're going to keep them up.
Yep, excellent. Yes. Okay, any other comments this evening?
I just want to say with the GMS project and everything, we're getting moving, but as you mentioned, I think everyone's doing a great job. It's great to see the engagement by Harriman. But we have to continuously press the engagement outside of the school systems. And I think that's how we get to that piece. So, if I hear anything, if I see anything, I'll definitely, we get these flyers out. I'll see if there's any place that I can think of to post them.
I was just gonna say, Friday night is, I believe, the homecoming football game.
Yes.
It is home under the lights. Obviously, a lot of students go, but it's also kind of a town event. So they sell food and there's all sorts of, it's great. So if you have the ability to go, have even younger kids, they get to go and watch and see and be a part of the community. So
And weather is supposed to be nice, so.
Weather's supposed to be nice. May I add just a little bit to that? If you're
Yeah,
still
yeah,
on
please.
homecoming? So earlier that evening as well, 4:00, JV girls volleyball in the gym, and then varsity volleyball at 5:30 on Friday, so you can make it a whole afternoon, evening. And then tomorrow night, the boys soccer team will be, tomorrow night, the girls soccer team will be under the lights at 6 for a home game as well, as part of homecoming, so.
boosters usually have the girls going. There's food, so
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
worth it to go.
Awesome. Lots of fun things at Campbell over the next few days.
Yeah, should be good.
All right, that concludes our public meeting this tonight. We do have some non-public business. The board will be moving into non-public session under RSA 91A3. specifically B and C. To do so, we need a roll call vote to move into non-public, please.
So I'll make a motion. Do I need to make a motion?
You do.
Okay, I'm making a motion.
We have a motion by Ms. Ames.
I'll second.
We have a second by Mr. DeWitt. Roll call vote. Ms.
Aye.
Kelsey? I'm an aye. Ms.
I'm an
Ames?
aye.
Mr. DeWitt?
Aye.
That carries 4-0. Thank you very much, everyone. We're now in non-public.